All right, let's jump right into this. This week we're going to be talking about lead sources, and the most important lead source that we're going to be talking about, which is going to be today, is your past client center of influence database. Right, is your core. Everyone on this call needs to be working this particular lead source. Right? Why? Well, the reality is relevance and familiarity creates trust, and trust creates referrals and sales. So we start with this particular lead source because, for a certain part, there is some trust there already. They're obviously familiar with you, right? You're relevant with them in their life. So we're going to start with that particular lead source because it's the fastest and easiest way to generate a lead and to get business. Right. So we're going to go jump into that. So today's objective in this particular lead source will be to define who it is that should be in your past client center influence database. It's to learn what sort of common fears that we have regarding working this lead source and how to overcome them. And also, it's to help you identify the money that you're leaving on the table for not working this particular lead source, right? So let's start. Let's really look at this center of influence, which includes your friends, your relatives, all your former and current co-workers from your jobs, your college friends, high school, and so on, people you grew up with, right? This is pretty much everyone, which includes people that you've transacted with as well. This can include your doctor, your lawyer, hairstylist, financial advisor, and of course, your past clients. So effectively working your database, the goal here, and I want you to write this down, is you need to be getting 10%, right? 10% of this overall list of people, 10%. So in other words, for every 10 people that you have in your database equals one transaction, right? Equals one transactions. If I have 400 people that I know, hey, that's 40 transactions each and every single year. And here's the crazy thing. It doesn't vary. It's like every year you're going to be getting 10%. And the more people you put into this list, that just means growth, right? It just means growth. In fact, your other lead sources that you will be working, whether it's a geographical farm or online leads or for sale by owners, they feed this particular lead source because as they become past clients, your database continues to grow. So your past client center influence database may start off at 400 people, but by the end of the year, you may have 450 people, right? So that means that the following work year, you're looking at 45 transactions from the database. So we're constantly growing that database, right? And that's where you get the steady growth in real estate, right? As opposed to the ups and downs in real estate, the roller coaster ride. By working your database, you just have steady growth year after year after year, right? So what are some fears that we may have? Because here's what we know. 50% of you on this call absolutely love calling your database. You're like, hey, no big deal. I call them all day, every day. That's fantastic. But what I can tell you is that 50% of you here in this call right now absolutely dread it. You don't want to be connecting with these people, right? Why? Why are we looking at that, right? So let's take a look at this. See, the first thing that we want to understand is the idea is to foster a strong referral-friendly relationship with your past clients at Center Influence database. So they can automatically think of you when the topic of real estate arises, right? Consider this. You probably know the name of your dentist or your family physician or your CPA right away. However, if you ask anyone the name of the real estate agent, they'll probably give you a response like, what do you mean? No, I'm not planning on buying or selling right now, right? And this is basically comes down to that most agents don't remain in touch with their past clients or center of influence, right? And by doing so, right, you're not gaining that loyalty from them, from your past clients, and you're not getting that future business from the sphere, right? So the following are some kind of, what's the word? hesitations that you may have or fears that agents have in staying in contact with databases. And this is how you overcome them. So the first one is this. It's been a long time since I've talked to this person. So contacting them right now would be super random and very uncomfortable. Has anyone had this thought in their head? Has this happened to you? Yeah, of course, right? So it's been like 5 years since I spoke to my past client. And now, I'm going to call them. It's going to feel awkward and random, right? And because so much time has passed by. So by putting this off, before you know it, 5 years turns into 6 years. So when are you going to stop putting it off? Let's think about what's the worst thing that might happen when you call them, right? They may say, who is this? Who's calling me? Or they may tell you, what's the worst thing they say? Oh, we sold that home. We've actually moved. It's been 2 years. That's the worst thing that can happen. So but let's think of the best thing that can happen. Your clients can probably say, hey, listen, here's someone that I know, right? I'm glad you called. We actually were thinking about this, right? What are you missing out? So let's think about what can you do to put this fear behind you? How do we get you feeling more comfortable? What can you say, right? What actions can you take to move forward so that you don't feel this anymore about calling your database, right? So the first thing I would say is maybe use Facebook to determine what recent events is happening in this person's life, right? And kind of give yourself a reason to making that call, right? That would be the first thing you could look into. Maybe number two is, play on that whole law of reciprocity, where people will reciprocate. If you talk to them and ask them about their life and their work and what's going on in their world, they'll ask you the same, right? So we're play off on that, reciprocating some value, right? Maybe number three is just recognize that they're probably weren't even thinking about you. Think about that. They're busy with their own lives, right? And they may even feel a little guilty that they haven't reached out to you, right? So just in that in itself, understand that it's not always about you. They're living their own lives. So just give them a call and just continue from where you left it off. Or, maybe number four, just own it. Admit that you haven't been following up the way you would like to with this client, and that moving forward, you're going to do a better job in connecting with them, right? And just that in itself, just admitting that you haven't been committed will help you move forward from that awkward stage. Because at the end of the day, you're here to be of service to them, right? So that is one kind of hang up, I would say, is that it's been a while since you've spoken to them. And these are some ideas on how to get you over this hang up. The second hang up that most agents, and the reason why they don't call their database is they don't want to come off as a desperate agent, a desperate salesperson. They want to be bothersome. You know what I mean? Anyone feel that way? That, hey, I don't want to be selling on my database. They've been amazing. I really don't want to be calling them and kind of begging for business, right? So if that's the case, and many agents, resist reaching out to the database because they don't want to feel like they're pushy or salesy, right? And for lots of agents, asking for the business makes them feel, I don't know, needed, maybe desperate. They're ashamed to do this. So have you ever felt that way? Have you ever felt in that way that, hey, I'm calling them up, I'm being too much of a salesperson, right? Well, here's what I want you to do. I want you to change that mindset. Change the idea of making a sales call and change the word sales to the word service. You're not making a sales call. You're making a service call. You're being of service. You're committing to being of service to the client. It doesn't matter what they think or what you think, right? It's all about how do you service them. And for you to service them, you have to give them a call. It's about helping others. Unless you reach out, people won't benefit from what you have to offer. So this call that you're making is for their benefit. So imagine getting on the calls every day, right? And let's say every few months, your wealth advisor gives you a call, and he or she briefs you on the market update, reviews your investments with you, and then offers to answer any of your questions. Odds are that advisor isn't calling to try to make a quick sale. Rather, he or she is just simply informing you about the market so that you can make decisions on your investments or maybe some trades. Now, so just so that you're not in the dark. Now, if your advisor did this for you, would you ever invest with someone else? Of course not. Chances are, right, because of the service that he or she is providing you. It's because your advisor is servicing you, right? And as a result, has earned your trust. Well, in the same way, you have a responsibility to serve the people in your database, your past clients, center influence database. You need to be of service to them so they can view you as that responsible person, that person of choice when it comes to making decisions about the real estate investments. So how do we break this down so that you can feel a little bit more comfortable, right? Well, number one, remind yourself that daily real estate is not a hobby, it's a profession. Okay, understand that. You are a professional. Remember that you don't reach out to these contacts you database because someone else will. And that's a problem. If you're not reaching out to your database, someone else will be. All right, recognize that every call is an act of service and commit to having the attitude of service. And the last thing I wrote down to kind of make you feel a little more comfortable with this is identify any sort of problems, any sort of questions facing an individual in your database at what's going on in the marketplace right now, and then also present them a solution. Being that knowledge broker is key, right? See, if you avoid reaching out to your past client center influence database, right, someone else will take your spots. Remember that. Right? Every journey begins with taking those steps. Okay, guys, you got to take that step, got to make those conversations with your database, right? So let's look at calculating your lost opportunities for not connecting to your database. I want you to really think of this for a second. So the first things first, I want you to write down on your page and tally how many past clients do you have and how many center of influence people you know. And again, I went through the list. Everybody you know, friends, family, neighbors. If you grabbed your phone, if you have an iPhone, just go to contacts and scroll to the very bottom of the contacts. It actually gives you a number at the very bottom if you have an iPhone, right? If you have an Android phone, it's at the top. It actually tells you a number there. There's a number there. And I would say, like mine says 1,200. I would divide that in half because half of them would be realtors. So I'm going to say realistically, I have 600 people. How many do you have? How many people are in your center influence database, right? Now, let's take 10%. So I'm going to use simple numbers. I'm going to say 400, right? I have 400 people. 10% is 40 transactions that will happen each and every single year. Now take that, take the 40 and multiply that by your average commission check. So I'm going to just simple numbers, say $10,000. So 40 times 10,000 is $400,000. That is how much your database is worth each and every year. All right? Scary number. So now let's go back into 2021 and ask yourself, how many transactions did I get from my database, from those people? Right? Now, if you calculate that out, and let's just simple numbers, say it was only 10 transactions that came from your database, that means you left on the table 30 transactions. That means you left on the table $300,000. How does that make you feel? How does that make you feel? Right? Makes you feel kind of like, maybe I should make my calls into my database, right? Maybe I shouldn't be as picky as who should be in my database. Maybe I should take some time, sit down and create the list of everyone in my database, right? And start to work the database, right? So today it's all about the mindset of why we need to work the database. Tomorrow, I will go into tactics. I'm going to go into how do you set up the database? How do we set it up with the different touch points? Because each of your lead sources need to have two very important items. One is an active approach to generating business, and two is a passive approach where the business is coming from you. So tomorrow we're going to get into the tactics of both passive and active to working the database. And then we'll continue going on another lead source for Wednesday. All right. So does anyone have any questions, concerns, anything regarding past clients and influence database? No, you guys all good? Then please unmute yourselves. Everybody unmute yourselves. Loud and proud, baby. What day is today?
It's money making day.
That's right. It's a money making day. What do you have to do in your business today to help you move the needle? You guys are awesome. I'll talk to all of you tomorrow. Thanks so much.